What's going on, folks? Welcome to a midweek edition of the Panther Fan Talk. I'm Eric, and this is Will.
Thank you, Eric. This is something new for us. We're going to start doing a thoughts, questions, comments, all things Panthers during the week. Off the field stuff, on the field stuff, for the preview of the next game. Obviously the biggest thing right now off the field, thanks to Ray Rice, Greg Hardy, and his altercation off the field back, I guess, midsummer. He's awaiting his next trial where he's going to have a jury trial. They're going to decide what's going to happen. But it seems a lot of the fans, a lot of the media outlets are already calling for his, not just suspension, but release from the team. Any feelings on that?
Well, from what I've gathered, the NFL has decided to wait and let the court, kind of handle that decision. So I guess whatever the court decides is what the NFL and what the Panthers are going to do. So.
Yeah, that's the way it seems. Apparently, that's not good enough for some people. Like I was just suggesting. I think that's ridiculous. I think that today in our society, one of the benefits of being Americans is to get due process. People aren't wanting Hardy to have his for whatever reason. Maybe it's the Warrior face paint. Maybe it's the whole Kraken identity. I have no idea. I think a lot of it is Ray Rice. People saw the video. They knew he punched the woman in the face. But then they saw the video. All of a sudden it became more real to them. Now anybody who's accused of anything should be thrown under the bus, apparently. My personal opinion, it's a completely separate case, completely different from the Ray Rice. In one, Rice came out, said what he did. We got video evidence, and he punched the girl. In this case, from what I know, he threw her on a bed. Supposedly the bed had guns on it. He pushed her. I'm not saying those are things he should do, but it's completely different than a left hook to the jaw, knocking him out cold and dragging him out of an elevator.
Right. Yeah, from what I've heard, after listening to the 911 tape again, you can hear the accuser in the background, still yelling at Hardy. My question is, why didn't she leave the house if her life was actually, being that much in danger? Why didn't she just go to the cops herself and stay away from Hardy instead of trying to get back at him?
And there's also speculation of the girl bragging about trying to take Hardy's money. Basically, a lot of it's speculation. It's Hardy's word. It's her word. It's people's translation. No one knows for sure. I just think that suspending him at this point, especially releasing him, is just a huge jump to conclusions. This has nothing to do with the Panthers, but Peterson today come out, apparently spanked his child, or at least allegedly at this point. And sadly, for me, that's a much worse crime.
Yeah.
Sadly, the way that's going to affect the Panthers is whatever happens to him, that's going to once again multiply Hardy's whole suspension, or what happens to him, his punishment. And again, I think people need to keep everything separate. I think you've got Peterson's incident, you've got Rice's incident, and you've got Hardy's incident, and they should be judged separately and according to what they did, not according to what others have done.
Yeah, I agree. I've seen the photos of supposedly where Adrian Peterson, took a switch to his child, hit him with it was a good 20 times at least, and they look pretty brutal. So.
Yeah, that's a bad situation for everyone involved for sure. Hopefully that'll all get taken care of and be better. Something locally that struck a nerve with me, nothing at all on the level of what's going on there with Peterson and his children and whatever happened with that. Again, all that's speculative right now. But the Charlotte Observer, getting back to the Hardy thing, printed out something, embarrassingly wouldn't sign off on who wrote it. Just wrote it as Observer columnist, which is just pathetic and weak and cowardice. They wrote that when Hardy's announced at tomorrow's game, or Sunday's game, the fans should turn their backs on him. Again, the guy hasn't been found guilty of anything, and they expect the fans to turn around and shun him as if he's not even a human being being announced.
Right.
To not cheer for any play, and went on to write that if you cheer for him and think Ray Rice should be suspended, that's the greatest form of hypocrisy. Essentially calling anyone that cheers for Greg Hardy, even after a sack that could be a 3rd and long or a 4th down, change the entire momentum of the game. If you cheer for that, that you're the greatest form of a hypocrite. For the Charlotte Observer to write that, to publish that, for me, that's, I'll never purchase the Charlotte Observer. That's just idiotic and just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? I mean, there is an appeal case going on, so he hasn't really been found guilty of anything as of yet. So, I mean, to just jump to a conclusion and ask the fans, to turn their back on somebody who may be innocent, I mean, there's always 2 sides to the story. And then you hear about, there's the true side. So we have to just wait and see instead of just jumping to a conclusion and accusing of somebody of doing something that, maybe they didn't do. So that's just crazy.
Absolutely. Another, not on the same subject again entirely, but another place I feel like people have jumped to conclusions recently, Cam referring to Ndamukong Suh as Donkey Kong. I think Cam says a lot of stuff fun-natured,
right,
jokingly. Ndamukong's names, Ndamukong kind of sounds like Donkey Kong.
It's pretty close.
He's huge, he's strong.
That's right.
I think for most people that's a compliment.
Yeah.
What's the MMA fighter?
Mark Munoz.
That's right. UFC fighter. Used the moniker Donkey Kong for his punches, Donkey Kong punches. It's it's a celebratory thing. It's a compliment. I think for most people that would be a compliment. I haven't heard Ndamukong's view, so I don't know how he feels about it. For me, I didn't see it as egregious as a lot of people seem to find it.
Right. From what I've gathered, all Ndamukong said was when they asked him about it was, he just walked out. He didn't answer no questions. So, as far as that goes, I think that was pretty much his reaction. But as far as Cam Newton saying it, I think, he was just trying to, maybe just come up with a new nickname for good old Ndamukong Suh. I mean, he is pretty much a beast at, the defensive line spot, so.
The unfortunate part as a Panthers fan for this, other than the negative backlash, which Cam apparently can't avoid no matter what he does,
right,
is that Ndamukong is going to use that as bulletin board material. I don't think we really want him mad.
No, we most definitely do not. I mean, he has had some pretty crazy penalties, and he's been fined for doing some pretty crazy things to quarterbacks. So.
Yeah, let's hope he, this plays out, and it ends with a Superman pose and not a foot stomping by Ndamukong.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to get, the Ndamukong pun on Cam Newton. That would be pretty bad.
Especially with the rib injury.
And speaking of injuries, Cam Newton, I mean, I heard he was expected to play Sunday, so that's got to be pretty good for the Panther Nation, right?
I'm looking forward to it. I hope he plays. I've heard a mixed bag of feelings on should he play, should he not play, for different reasons. Some people, for whatever reason, think DA should play either way. I think he's a good backup, but I don't think he should be getting the nod over Cam Newton.
Yeah, I think Derek Henderson did play pretty good against Tampa Bay, but, I think he played how a backup was supposed to play. He didn't look great, although he did have a great quarterback rating. There at the end, he had that pass that could have been picked off, and, I mean, that could have been the game right there. Cam Newton is a much bigger playmaker than Derek Henderson, and for Carolina to win this game against Detroit especially, we need him on the field, throwing passes and making plays not only with his arm but with his legs too. So.
Yeah, that's a good point about Derek Henderson's pass. I don't want to harp too much on last week's game. That's done and over with. But if that goes for a pick six in the game, then we're not talking about should Derek Henderson start.
That's right.
For one, his rating wouldn't have been 108.
That's right.
But
like a 0. I mean, we'd probably lost that game. So.
Yeah, the win-loss, that would have been the problem. Cam, the other thing I've heard is if he's not 100%, Derek Anderson is 100%. And one thing that scared, I think, a lot of the fans is Cam in the presser talking about his ankle still not being 100%.
Right.
Is that a fear for you?
Yeah, most definitely. I think you want Cam Newton to be 100% going up against that tough, Detroit front four. He has to be mobile, move out of the pocket. Hopefully the offensive line can play like they did last week. If they do, then we're in good shape, I think. But Cam Newton is also a big playmaker with his feet, and I think we need him to run. Not a lot, but when he gets in trouble, especially to be able to run and get away from pressures and be able to get away from hits and big sacks.
I'm not as fearful of that Detroit defense as a lot of people are. I think people overrate that Giants offense. From Monday night, people watched that, went ahead and crowned Detroit, and I think we've all learned that if you want to crown them, you can go ahead and crown them, but
might as well go ahead and crown them.
It doesn't mean anything. But I really think that their defense is overrated. We'll get to more keys to the game in a little bit. You spoke about Cam's running. There's another scare with the running game. If not only Cam Newton's ankle, but also D'Angelo Williams' thigh.
Yeah, I heard D'Angelo Williams hurt his thigh. I didn't really see how. I guess it was maybe in the game last week. But, D'Angelo Williams, the way he played last week, we definitely need him, to play this week too. But we also have good backups with Jonathan Stewart and, you got Fozzie Whitaker, who's, kind of looked real good in the preseason, but I guess hasn't had that many touches in the game. And you also got, of course, Mike Tolbert, who's just, bulldozes through people. So what do you think about that?
Tolbert's had a rough go at it this year so far. Preseason averaging like 2 yards a carry. First game, 2 yards a carry. Really be good to see him get off. I think Jonathan Stewart and D'Angelo, ever since the double trouble season, have kind of played better when the other one was out. So if we need Stewart to step up, and I'm admittedly not the biggest Stewart fan,
right?
Not because I think he's bad, just because I think people put him above D'Angelo, and I don't see it that way.
Right.
I believe he gets that from running people over in the open field, which everybody likes to see. But as a total package, I think D'Angelo's better. And with that said, I think Stewart can come out there. I think he can be 100-yard back in a game if you need him to be.
Absolutely.
And I would love to see Fozzie Whitaker get 1 or 2 carries early on, see what he's able to do with them, and then, elevate from there.
Yeah, Fozzie Whitaker, man, he looked like a monster during preseason. So, you want him to be able to go if he's called upon.
Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to that if it happens. So we got the running game. Do you consider that a key to the game, or you think? It's not that very likely that Detroit comes out of this with a low score. They're a pretty high octane offense. Calvin Johnson alone is pretty high octane offense.
Well, speaking of that, if the running game's going, and if we can keep Detroit's offense off the field with our running game, that's only going to help out. So that'd be a good way, a good kind of game plan Carolina could have against Detroit. Maybe keep the offense off the field and just run the ball.
We did hold teams to 12 points a game last year at home.
True.
That's including New Orleans, who I think we held to, was it single digits, or it was less than 13 for sure, 13 or less. And I know New England was 20. Those are, pretty scary offenses in their own right. So we're going to have the running game, keep them off the field. I agree with that. Our defense, they weren't the second-ranked defense last year for no reason.
That's
We still
right.
got Luke. We got Thomas Davis. Front seven just as a whole.
Yeah, that defensive line, is obviously mean. And Carolina said they wasn't going to do anything. Obviously, they Greg Hardy, so he'll be out there with Charles Johnson. We got a mean defensive front, so.
Charles Johnson's going to be going up against their either third string right tackle or their starting right guard moving out to right tackle because of injury problems. So it's likely to be the 6'9" rookie, I think out of Wichita State or something.
Right.
If that's the case, that could That's possibly the way to slow down Calvin Johnson, just not let him get the ball. If Stafford's laying on his back the whole time, it's going to be hard for him to pass. And as we mentioned in the post game, he's been known to throw a few to the other team.
Exactly. You know, I mean, if Charles Johnson's going against anybody that's not a veteran in the NFL, he should just have a field day with that guy. So that's obviously good news for the Panthers. Stafford, yeah, if you get pressure on him, you know, sometimes he just throws it up and it's a jump ball. So, you know, hopefully Carolina can come away with a couple picks. But
so ball control, pressure on the quarterback.
mm-hmm.
Still got our kicking game, even though Gano let us down on one this week. Maybe he won't have to push any band members out of the way.
Right.
Be able to
That
get
was
his
pretty
warm up
crazy.
in. That's what I'm blaming for the miss.
Mm-hmm.
I still say if you didn't know, now you can know.
There you go.
So, you're going to give us a final score?
I can't remember my prediction from the, you know, the pre-show, the prediction show we had. But yeah, I think Carolina's going to win. I'm going to go with 28-24, Carolina.
I'm not going to give you a score, but I'm going to go with a prediction. 7 sacks. 7 sacks on
For who?
Matt Stafford for Carolina, between, you know, just the entire defense.
I thought that was just one person though. So
No, I think Charles Johnson might get him at least 3 though.
Yeah, he should definitely.
So I look forward to Sunday afternoon with a Panther W.
That'd be nice, right? Nothing like a Panther win on Sunday. So, anything else?
Don't forget, comment. We'll read them on the air. Subscribe, like, all that other good stuff. And we'll see you then.
Also, one more thing. We have a Twitter account now. It's at Panther Fan Talk on Twitter. So hit us up.
Have a good one.